Yes, okay, sound is okay. Yes, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Yes, once again, I'm back to discuss guide to starting a business in Finland. Today, I remembered to swap or to flip the camera, so you should be reading this correctly. Yeah. And if this is the first time you're viewing this video, then you should be aware that there is this document which has been released by Suomen Uusyrityskeskus. Yeah, Suomen Uusyrityskeskus is the joint organization of business service advisors and also how they call themselves enterprise agencies. Their main work is to help people who are coming up with some business ideas, or they have just an entrepreneurial spirit. They are helping you establish a business in Finland. Yes, and we have about 40 different enterprise agencies all over Finland. Yes, and their offices are free of charge if you want to access their advice. Yeah, free of charge. And the good thing is about this office is that they have printed this document every year. They release a new document which is supposed to have all the up-to-date information that you as a business person need to know. Yeah, and I actually had documents from the past 2 years, but I lost from 2023. I can show you. Last year, for instance, they released this copy. This was from year 2024, guide to become an entrepreneur in Finland. So it had information up to the end of 2023. Yeah. And this one is having information up to 2024, this document here. And this document is free of charge. You can get it from their website, Suomen Uusyrityskeskus. You can see the name here. Yes, Suomen Uusyrityskeskus. If you Google this, you should be able to get their website. And from the website, you can get access to the soft copy document, this one. But also, if you visit their office, you can get the hard copy. You don't have to pay a cent to get this document. But this document is very much valuable because of the information that it carries. Yeah, it has information that almost every information that you as an entrepreneur in Finland, you might need to know. Yeah, so why am I here? I'm here not as an expert. I said in my previous video, I'm not an expert yet, but I'm the guy who likes to read and likes to explain things to people. Yeah, and one of the assignments that I give myself is that I want to be reading this document from cover to cover. And in doing so, I'm going to be discussing this document with you so that we can understand about these things in Finland. We all know that in Finland, we have the challenge of the so-called information bubbles. Information bubbles, that means for you to get some sort of information, you have to be connected to some networks. And these networks are always very small and always between very few people. If you're not connected to these people, you have a very big chance of never finding out about that information. Yeah, that's why in Finland we have so many people who have been here a long time, but they have no access to so much important information that concerns them. That's the challenge. That's what's going on in Finland. So if you're not connected to some small, very important networks, then you have a very big chance of being left out. Yeah, so that's why I said I should discuss this with you so that you can also be able to understand most of the important information that you need to know, especially if you have been interested into starting a business in Finland. Yeah, so in our previous video, actually now it's like the 4th week before today, yeah, I started discussing this document and I discussed the introductory pages where we discussed about setting up a business, who is an entrepreneur, something like that. And the last week I started to discuss about employment security. So this is what we were supposed to discuss last week. Unfortunately, yeah, I had my kids at home, and I was not able to do this session because you know what it is like if you have small boys, yeah, with you at home. Yeah, and today I was supposed to start at 10 again. Yeah, the time which I planned was between 10 and 12. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, I had some other businesses that I had to take care of this morning, and now I have a time slot which I think I could use anyway to discuss, especially from the employment security. Unemployment security, and I will cover up to YEL pension insurance. YEL pension insurance. This is a very much important insurance for you as an entrepreneur. So you really have to understand about this. And what am I gonna do? I'm gonna walk you through the document. Like I told you, I read this document and then I come to discuss with you. If you want to be going in phase with me, please make sure you, first of all, make sure you stay in this live until the end. I'm going to spend about an hour. So now it's 12:08 finish time. So we're going to be here until 1 o'clock around. Yes, and in the end, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to be covering in the coming Monday so that you can also go through that document. If you have questions, you can ask me. Yeah, up to this moment, I can say I know a great deal about, entrepreneurship in Finland. So I should be able to answer most of the questions that you can ask me. And you would always get the questions to ask if you have some information ahead of time. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, so that's why I say it will be important for you to go through this document before the session so that when I'm doing this session, you can ask relevant questions that you need to know if you want to engage in entrepreneurship in Finland. Yeah, so let me take you straight. I'm going to be using the soft copy. I have the hard copy here, but I also have the soft copy, and that's what I'm going to be using to walk you through. Yeah, so let me switch to another scene. Okay, so what you see, this is the document that we're going to be covering. The yellow color you see here is what I started to cover last week. Yeah, unfortunately, I did not manage to cover through it all, yeah, because of some interruptions. But today I will start again from the very, very much beginning. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to write your question on the comment section below. Yeah, otherwise, let's just stick together until the end of this session. So, first and foremost, you should understand that, in business, it is known that anything can go wrong at any time. And the business advisors, Suomen Uusyrityskeskus, they understand. That's why they said business conditions may deteriorate unpredictably, even if an entrepreneur has a viable business idea and high level of expertise. New entrepreneurs should always think about their social and unemployment security. Actually, this is one of the benefits that you can get in Finland, which I think you may not be able to get in most of other places in the world. Yeah, this is one of the very, very much important benefits that you can get in Finland. You can always get access to social and unemployment security. And I'm gonna be using my highlight. Yes, so I'm gonna take you straight to the areas where I've added some color so that we don't have to waste a lot of time. The first section which I colored here, it says an entrepreneur can join an employment fund for the self-employed if their YEL income is at least 15,129 per year. Anyway, before I explain this, I think I must explain one thing ahead of time. Yeah, let me first explain this. In Finland, if you're new, especially if you're new and you have no idea, one of the distinguishing features about Finland is that there is a minimum amount every resident is supposed to have in Finland. So we are not supposed to have someone who does not earn anything in a month. You can earn some minimum amount, which is about 800 euros, I believe so, for those who are taking unemployment benefit, and of course it goes higher to those who have been hired. But you should not be able, I don't know, should I say you should not be able, but you should be able to earn at least that amount even if you're not hired. So, so for you who has not been hired, I'm not sure about students. Yeah, students, it should be, I don't know, I think you're getting a different treatment if you are an international student. But if you are a resident, you have a resident permit here, not as a student, but maybe as a worker or through family grounds, if you don't have any income, you should be able to get at least this 800 euros from Kela or from other sources, which is what I'm going to cover shortly. Yeah, so that's one of the very important things that you should understand. So if you're going through tough times, you are not a student, you have been living here, but you don't have any income. The problem is that if you don't report to the respective office, such as Kela or YEL, for example, which is going to be covered today, you may live a very hard time without any income. Yeah, but you should be able to get this as long as you qualify. You have the resident permit, which is A, and you have been living here in Finland for the required time, then you can go to Kela or report to other places where you can secure yourself from unemployment. Yeah, so let's go back now to reading this document. Yeah, so it says an entrepreneur can join an employment fund for the self-employed if their YEL income is at least 15,129 per year, or an entrepreneur's YEL/MYEL earned income and the company co-owner's TYEL salary. Entrepreneurs with low level of income are only entitled to labor market support. So as an entrepreneur, you can get some insurance from YEL. YEL is a security pension, which we will cover in a few minutes to come. Yes, which is equivalent to Kela support. Now, they say, why is an entrepreneur unemployed? When is an entrepreneur unemployed? Sorry. You are not entitled to unemployment benefit if you are fully employed as an entrepreneur. So we all know that if you are not employed at all, you can get benefit from Kela. But if you want to engage in a business full time, then you do not qualify for unemployment benefit. You will not get anything from Kela. In order to receive the benefit, you need to close down your business. That's a qualification for getting unemployment benefit. According to the Unemployment Security Act, you are unemployed if it can be proven that your business activities have ended or if your employment with the company has ended in a lawful manner. So they are trying to tell us how can we benefit from unemployment fund. Well, I skipped most of the text. Mind you, again, I already did this session, so I'm skipping some of the text, some of the important text. Okay, I will skip this one. Please get the document so that you can read when would the entrepreneurial activity deem fully terminated. Let me come here to the text which I also covered in green, which says an entrepreneur's livelihood during unemployment is secured by either unemployment allowance or labor market support. So during the time of your entrepreneurship, it may happen you don't have any income from the business. It may happen that you don't have any other place to get an income. If that is the case, then your livelihood during that time can be secured using unemployment allowance. This is the same money that is coming from Kela, or labor market support. We will know more. I will read more here because of the importance of this text. So unemployment allowance can be a basic daily allowance paid by Kela or earnings related daily allowance paid by unemployment fund. Employees are insured by unemployment fund for salaried employees, and entrepreneurs are insured by unemployment fund for Finnish entrepreneurs. I'm gonna have to highlight this one. I need to highlight this one. Yes, I need to highlight this one from here to here. So if you are an employee, you have only been hired as an employee, you can be insured by unemployment fund. If it happens, you lose your you lose your job. But entrepreneurs are insured by the so-called unemployment fund for Finnish entrepreneurs, or in bracket Yrittäjäkassa. You cannot be a member of both funds at the same time. You should always choose unemployment fund according to your main occupation. So now this goes to those who are in the entrepreneurship. If you are dealing with entrepreneurship, here is your advisor, which I color in green, that you should always choose unemployment fund according to your main occupation. If you are part-time entrepreneur with a full-time job, you should, I should read again. You should always choose unemployment fund according to your main occupation. If this unemployment fund is the money which you get from Kela. If you're a part-time entrepreneur with a full-time job, you should always belong to unemployment fund for salaried employees. It continues. The basic allowance in 2025 is 37 euros and 21 cents per day, which is approximately about 800 euros per month. So this is the amount you will get from Kela once you have requested for unemployment fund. As a member of unemployment fund for Finnish entrepreneurs, you will receive a daily allowance based on your earnings, which is clearly higher than the basic daily allowance. So as a business or as an entrepreneur, you get the unemployment fund based on your earnings. So if you used to earn a certain amount before maybe the business closed or something like that, then that is the amount you will get, which is clearly higher than the amount you will get through unemployment allowance, which is this 37 euros 21 cents. And okay, what's the other point? The amount of earnings related daily allowance is determined on the basis of pre-unemployment okay, they say that the amount of earnings related daily allowance is determined on the basis of pre-unemployment income or insurance. You can calculate the amount of your earnings related allowance on the unemployment fund for Finnish entrepreneurs using that website. So you can try to copy it and check how much would you get if it happens you lose your business or something like that. Okay, so now let's look at the employment conditions and post protection. Let me try to also see. This is 2024. Yeah, I'm trying to check my summary because I had already read this document and I noted the places where we need to read together. Employment conditions. Yes, in this part, I don't believe there is anything important for me to discuss, so I'm gonna skip this part. Please get the copy so that you can come and read yourself. Let's go straight to this part, secure your livelihood. Again, as it reads here on the caption or below the title, setting up a business and acquiring customers often take time. A new entrepreneur must also secure their own financial situation before the business starts to produce results. So they understand, if you want to start a business in Finland, there's gonna be a period of time where you will not get any income. So you need to know ahead of time, how are you going to sustain yourself during the time that your business is not producing any results. Yes, and okay, starting from here, I think I'm gonna read straight to this statement here up to here, which says a startup grant can be granted to a person who is becoming a full-time entrepreneur at the startup and establishment stage of the business. Well, it's like this. You are always able to apply for a startup grant. You're always able to apply for a startup grant. Anyway, let me read from the start. A startup grant secures a new entrepreneur's livelihood at the starting phase of full-time entrepreneurship. The grant is only meant to cover the entrepreneur's personal living cost. So if you are planning to apply for a startup grant, then you have to understand that they only intend to cover the personal living cost. They are not paying you to cover the cost of the business, not the cost of the business operations. So the startup grant are taxable income, and the tax is payable on them. And so back to this statement, it says a startup grant can be granted to a person who is becoming a full-time entrepreneur at the startup and establishment stage of the business. So you can only apply for this grant if you want to become a full-time entrepreneur, and they don't give you the capital to start your business. They only give you a means of supporting yourself while you are starting up a business. This is so much important information for you to understand. And another statement which is important: a startup grant may also be granted to a person who plans to expand their part-time entrepreneurship into a full-time occupation. So maybe you are doing part-time now and you want to expand in the future. You can also apply for a startup grant. A startup grant can be granted to several entrepreneurs who are working in the same startup business. You can apply for a startup grant when you own at least 15% of the company. So for those who are opening up a limited liability company, if you own at least 15% of the company and you're in the dominant position of the company and you're fully time in the company, then you can apply for this startup grant. A startup grant can be paid for a period of up to 12 months. A decision on the startup grant is always made for a period of 6 months. So you apply only for 6 months and then you extend for another 60 months. Okay, so how to apply for a startup grant? A startup grant is a discretionary allowance granted by municipal employment services. So it's like it's from the government, something like that. When considering setting up a business, you should contact your local employment services in good time to ensure your eligibility for a startup grant. So always visit the office before applying for this. They will tell you the things you're supposed to have, and then you can send the application for a startup grant. Operations must not be commenced before the decision of the startup grant has been made. And this is so much important. I'm going to put it in red. Because some people would always start, I don't know if you can see, but yeah, some people would always start their business activities and then after that apply for a support grant. You cannot get a startup grant if you have already started the business. Yeah, so don't purchase anything in the name of the business before you apply for a startup grant. If your plan is to apply for a startup grant, that is really, really necessary. Okay, I'm going to change back to yellow. The application for a startup grant must be accompanied by a business plan as well as profitability and financial calculations. This is another very much important thing. Yes, and of course, when you visit these offices, Suomen or Uusyrityskeskus, they will tell you that you need to have your business plan ready before you can apply for this startup grant. And that business plan must show your planned operations as well as profitability and financing calculations. You must indicate everything in that business plan. Business advisors of the Finnish enterprise agencies can assist you in completing them. So this is document we are reading is a document from these guys, and you can see right here. This is their name, their website, Uusyrityskeskus. This is the fee. Okay, and another thing. Yeah, I think another thing I can read from here. Okay, let's finish the attachment. You will also need to include a certificate of the payment of taxes or tax debt certificate. Why? Because they say statement on whether the applicant has outstanding taxes to pay. If you don't pay taxes, you will not get any startup grant. Yeah, that's another thing you have to understand ahead of time. A certificate may be ordered via the website of the Finnish Central Tax Administration. The link is shown over here. If you're applying for a startup grant extension, the application must be submitted to the employment services during a valid startup grant. So if you have already got the first one, then definitely you have information about this one. Let's go now to the amount of the startup grant. If you apply for a startup grant, how much would you get? The startup grant corresponds to the basic unemployment benefit applied under the Unemployment Security Act. So it corresponds. You see, you don't get so much. You don't get so much, but it will be too much if you don't have any other thing to support you financially. So in this year, 2025, the basic grant is 37.21 euros, 37 euros and 21 cents. That's the amount of grant you will get as a startup grant if you want to apply for your business. The startup grant is paid for maximum of 5 days per calendar week. That means Monday to Friday. The startup grant is paid once a month retroactively on the basis of an application for payment submitted by the recipient of the grant. The application for payment must be submitted to Municipal Employment Services within 2 months from the end of the payment period. The startup grant can be granted if the entrepreneur is able to establish profitable business and if they have experience to support entrepreneurship or have business training. So that is the condition that would enable you to get this startup grant. Okay, another information now. I cannot read everything because I don't have that time. I only have about 30 minutes. Okay, let's read very briefly. Starting a business during unemployment. If you are unemployed and start a business, you may apply for a startup grant or unemployment allowance. You may receive unemployment allowance for the first 4 months after the establishment of the company. So you don't just get support, by applying for unemployment allowance because you're starting a business. You get this 4 months after the establishment of the company. That's when you will get the support. As the full-time or part-time nature of the work is not assessed during this time. If your business generates income during the first 4 months, you will receive an adjusted unemployment allowance. Okay, and there is more information over that. I will not read it through it all, but also we have the salary. Okay, here we have so much important information. Yes, that I think you would need to understand. I'm going to read you this article here. It says, an entrepreneur's salary is not the same as the company sales, turnover, or business income. This statement is so much important to understand. Very much important because it can benefit you greatly. If your enterprise is a limited liability, you can pay salaries and benefits to yourself and to your potential employees. If you have a limited liability company, salaries are an expense that reduces the company profit. There was one guy who asked me last time on the very first session, and he asked me about the taxes that, in Finland, they tax entrepreneurs so much to an extent that many entrepreneurs fail to go forward. This is one thing which most people don't understand. Where is that statement? Yes, here. That if you operate as a company, now they are talking about the limited liability company. If you operate as a limited liability company, the salary that you pay yourself and other employees, they are the expenses, and if they are being given the title of expenses, that means they are not being taxed. They are not being taxed at all. They are not being taxed. Yeah, which is a great benefit to someone who is only working as an employee or who is working as a light entrepreneur or proprietor, we can say in another word. If you work as a proprietor, your salary is considered as an income and it is being taxed. But if you operate as a company, your salary is considered as an expense and it is not being taxed. That's a big benefit here you can get by having a company. If the company makes a profit, shareholders can also receive dividends from the company. An entrepreneur's salary is taxed according to their personal tax rate. You see now here, you as an entrepreneur, your salary is being taxed, but from the company perspective, salary is being considered as an expense. So most people who are clever, they don't just end up being entrepreneurs without a company. They open up a company and then they earn the income using the company and they pay themselves from the company. This is how you would, morally avoid unnecessary taxes. And then let's talk about the private trader. They say if you're a private trader, you do not actually pay yourself a salary. Let me highlight this also so that it is easy for you to read. Yes, so I'm reading about this. They say if you're a private trader, which is another form of a company, you do not actually pay yourself a salary, but you can make private withdrawals from your business account for your personal expenses. You can make as many withdrawals as you want. However, remember that all your business expenses must be paid from your business account. So if you want your personal expenses to be considered as business expenses, they must be made from your business account. Private withdrawals are not taxed upon withdrawal. This is also the same benefit that you can get as a limited liability company, but as a private trader company. All the withdrawals you make from your business account are not taxed upon withdrawal. But again, if you are just an entrepreneur who is operating without a company, every income you get, regardless of whether you're going to use that money or not, you're going to be taxed. Yeah, so, oh, thank you, Troller. Thank you, Troller. Okay, please give me feedback. How are you able to hear me now? Thank you, Troller. Truka, sorry. Okay. Now, what can I do here? Okay. Yeah, I think I was touching the cable. I'm using my camera's microphone. Let me see if I can change microphone. Okay, I will try to change the microphone. General settings. Okay, so now I've switched to a computer microphone. Please let me know how do I sound. Please let me know how I sound. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the feedback. Yeah, thank you so much for the feedback. And I'm sorry for that. I didn't know if this camera's microphone would sound bad. I never get any feedback. Yeah. Thank you so much for the feedback. Now I will continue. Yeah, so I was speaking about the private trader company that all the withdrawals that you make from the business account for your personal expenses are being also considered as, business expenses. And for that reason, they are not being taxed at all. It's another benefit you can get by owning a company. Yeah, so the same 10,000 euros that an employee or an entrepreneur without a company would earn, he can be taxed for that 10,000 euros. But if you earn this as a company, 10,000 euros, and you end up making private withdrawals up to 5,000 euros, plus other expenses related to business, maybe up to even 10,000 euros, then at the end of the day, as a company, you may not have anything to be taxed legally and morally. Yeah, so this is what most business people do. They open up a company and then they end up doing every expense in the company name. Of course, your expenses must be, sensible. Maybe I can use that language. If your expenses are sensible, they can be explained to the tax office, then that is the very perfect way of handling your finances. Yes, the entrepreneur must pay the tax in advance. Of course, as a business, you always have this prepayment taxes where you have to predict how much your business will make. If it's 15,000 euros a year, then the tax office will give you the estimate how much you can pay as a prepayment tax. And of course, at the end of the day, after they've done their calculations, how much you really earned, then you may either get back your money or being requested to pay more as back taxes if it happened you earned more than what you reported. So it happens sometimes. In practice, this means that you will notify the tax authority of an estimate of earnings for your upcoming tax period, and you will receive a decision on the withholding tax on to My Tax. This is your personal account in the tax website. The decision contains information from the payment of tax, such as amount and due date for each installment. Yeah, that was so much important information. And here we have preconditions for receiving a startup grant. Okay, the first category, it says preconditions for receiving a startup grant. You have or acquire adequate capabilities for the intended business. You have to prove. That's why you have to go to the business advisors and have an interview with them. So they would, interview you and they will tell if you are really fit for the business. They are the ones who give the statement to the employment office if you deserve to get a startup grant. Yeah, so you have to go to Suomen Uusyrityskeskus and talk to them. And number 2, you are a full-time entrepreneur. And number 3, the intended business has potential for continued profitable operation. Here are the conditions why you will not be granted a startup grant. Number 1, the intended business is estimated to secure a reasonable income for the applicant at the startup stages of the business operators. Let me read this again. I can't understand this myself. A startup grant will not be granted if the intended business is estimated to secure a reasonable income for the applicant at the startup stages. So if your business is likely to provide you an income at the startup stage, then you will not get any startup grant. So you must also prove to them that your business is not likely to give you anything in the beginning. Then you will stand a better chance of securing an income. And number 2, the startup grant is estimated to distort competition between the providers of the same products or services to more than a minor extent. So if someone else is operating in that area and they think giving you money might even add more competition in that area, that will be another reason why you will not get any startup grant. Number 3, if you're a private person who applies for a startup grant has started full-time entrepreneurship before the decision on the grant was made. So again, I've emphasized on this point that if you are planning to apply for a startup grant, do not engage in anything related to that business that you will use in application for the grant. Yeah, otherwise, if you purchase any equipment or device before you have started that business and you mention that, okay, I already bought a camera which I want to use for my photography business, then they will use that reason to deny you a startup grant. But also, they say the person who applies for the startup grant has materially neglected their obligations to pay taxes or other statutory payments. Or the person has experienced material civil law default of payment unless municipal employment services consider granting of startup grant appropriate. So if you have any debts to the tax office, you will not get any startup grant. Yeah, that was so much important information. So let us now cover this YEL pension insurance. Yeah, this is one of the very much important insurance for any entrepreneur. And they say, thank you so much, Trusa or Truka. Now I don't know how to pronunciate your name properly, but thank you for following this. It says YEL pension insurance provides security throughout life. So this is a pension insurance. Entrepreneurs must take out statutory pension insurance. So this is a must take insurance for any entrepreneur. Of course, if you satisfy the following conditions, which I will read you shortly. So entrepreneurs must take out statutory pension insurance, which is named YEL insurance for self-employed persons. Although the name refers to a pension, YEL affects a life of an entrepreneur in a much broader sense. You need to apply for YEL insurance if you satisfy these conditions. Number one, you are an entrepreneur and over 18 years old. Control Z. Yeah, so you are 18 years old, but number two, you work as an entrepreneur. So that means you're a full-time entrepreneur. And number three, your entrepreneurial activities continue for a minimum of 4 months. So if you have operated also your entrepreneurial activity for over 4 months, then that is another qualification why you need insurance, YEL insurance. But also in this year, your estimated income is more than 9,208 and 43 cents per year for this year. So if you satisfy these conditions, then you have to take up this YEL insurance. Okay, there is a question here. I will read by Ola Matarazi. He says, will startup grant affect in the future like Kela social benefits? Well, there has not been any discussions around the entrepreneurial stuff, so I cannot really tell if it will affect or not. Yeah, but it has not been mentioned. The only thing which has been affected by the new policies is unemployment benefit that you get from Keller. Yeah, but it has not been mentioned about the startup grant or any other fund which is for supporting entrepreneurs. That has not been mentioned. Yep. Okay, let me continue. Okay, let me move this a little bit. Okay, so where was I? Okay, so we just saw the conditions needed for you to apply for YEL insurance. It continues, says YEL insurance must be taken out within 6 months from starting a business. So if you satisfy these conditions, 4 conditions, is it 4 or 5? It's 4 conditions. Yeah, 1 dot is additional here. If you satisfy these 4 conditions, then you must take out this insurance within 6 months from starting a business. The insurance is based on entrepreneurial YEL income confirmed by pension insurance company. The YEL contribution is paid for all months of entrepreneurship. So once you register, then you have to be paying this amount monthly. If the insurance is taken out after starting a business, the contribution must be paid retroactively. If you work as a self-employed person while drawing an old age pension, you can take out voluntary YEL pension insurance until you reach the upper age limit for YEL insurance. Okay, assessment of self-earned income. Actually, this is quite tricky. It's quite tricky when it comes to assessment. Yeah, because you have to use some imaginary things. Let's read here also and see. It says assessment of earned income. The YEL income is always assessed on the annual basis. The earned income should correspond to the annual salary you would pay an employee with the same professional skills. So they will always ask you how much value is your work, or how much would you earn in a year, so that you would determine how much you have to pay as a fee or something like that. So for you to determine how much you would earn, you don't look at the actual amount you earn, but this is what you look, that the earned income should correspond to the annual salary you would pay an employee with the same professional skill. So you consider how much valuable is your work, and you use that value to estimate the earning, the yearly earning of your business, and you use that yearly earning of your business to determine how much you should pay in a month. Thus, YEL income is not the same thing as the profit generated by your company or the salary you earn as an entrepreneur, but the monetary value of your work input. Yeah, it's very much important also to understand this, because some other people, they work so much and they earn so much, but in reality, if someone else was doing their work, maybe they would be earning very little. For example, I've seen one guy who was doing Wolt in one city, and as a Wolt driver, he used to spend, I would say, minimum of 12 hours in the road every day. Every day would spend minimum of 12 hours. So that means they open at 10, he's there. They close at 12 midnight, he's there. Yeah, and if he registers to YEL, he would end up paying a lot of fee, monthly fee. Yeah, but if he did this comparison, that how much would he pay someone else doing that job for him, then maybe he would have realized that he didn't have to pay so much. Yeah, so it's so much important to understand about this. The YEL income determines the amount of your insurance contribution. The contribution is lower with lower income, but with too little income, the entrepreneur's security and pension security may remain inadequate. For example, sickness allowance, parental allowance, and earnings-related unemployment allowance are calculated on the basis of YEL income. Okay, I need to move this. How can I move this? Great, it moved. Okay, so now here they give examples. They say YEL contribution are confirmed. YEL contribution of confirmed income is as follows. You pay 24.10% for persons who are aged 18 up to 52, and you pay 25.60 for persons aged 53 to 62, but also you pay 24.10 for persons aged over 62 years. And note, a new entrepreneur will always get a discount of 22% for the first 48 months. Thus, YEL contribution is between that much for a new entrepreneur, between 18% to 19%. Okay, the remaining is not so much important. Let me read also this part here. Confirmed YEL earned income affects the amount granted in the following benefits. So depending on how much you pay your YEL income, this is how much you will also get. Actually, these are the areas where it will affect how much you receive as a benefit. It affects the sickness allowance, it affects parental allowance, it affects earnings related daily allowance, it affects disability pension, rehabilitation allowance, it affects vocational rehabilitation, it affects old age pension, it affects partial old age pension, years of service pension, and survivors pension. Those are the areas affected by YEL. And closing today's session, you can see these numbers over here. So these are like calculations. They show you, for example, if you earn €9,000 is a yearly income, then this is how much it would cost you per year. For example, if you earn this, then this is how much you're gonna have to pay as your contribution to the insurance, and which would make per month €185 per month. And then contribution for so as a new entrepreneur, these are the numbers. Again, please get this copy so you can see this number properly, which will make this a month 144. But also they have stated here the amount you would get as a sickness allowance. If it happens you are sick, then you would be paid this much per day, €21 48. As a parental allowance, you can get up to this much. As an employment allowance, you get 37, which corresponds to what you would get from Kela in the beginning. Now, depending on that very small income, it increases with your income. So for someone who is getting 100,000 a year, who has estimated 1,100 a year, that means you would be contributing €2,000 a month. But also as a sickness benefit, you can get up to €100 per day. You can get also parental allowance up to 151 a day. You can get unemployment benefit of up to 140. If it happens, you have lost your business, you don't have any income anymore. And then you can get an accident allowance up to 8,000. Yes, up to 80,000 you can get as an accident allowance, which is really something, Yeah, so that is what I thought I should cover with you up to this day. Yes, I'm gonna go now through some questions, and then we can wrap up in about 7 minutes. Let me switch back now. Yes, so let me read some questions here. Chine Exist wants to ask a question. Okay, students with B permit eligible for integration plan 2? No, unfortunately, no. As a student, you are not eligible for any integration plan. Integration plan, this is for those with who don't have the student status. Yeah, that's the disadvantage for being an international student, and particularly if you are coming outside of the European Union. Yeah, you don't get some of the benefits that other people get. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Yeah, but I really hope they will resolve this very soon. Jay, you're asking, okay, you already asked, you say you don't get the benefits if you have own business. Well, you don't get unemployment benefit if you are working full-time entrepreneur, but you can get other benefits that are for entrepreneurs. Yeah, so there are some other benefits, few of them we have just read today, that you can get unemployment also support, or yeah, as an unemployment support as an entrepreneur. So there are some benefits, but if you have to be registered as a business person, and you have to be paying these insurance contributions. If you don't pay, then probably you may not get any support if it happens you have lost your business or something like that. Kela doesn't give money to retire. You are very correct. You are very correct, Jay. If you have your own business and if you're sick, you don't get money from being sick. Well, you don't get money from Kela. Kela don't give you money as an entrepreneur. Yeah, but I've just read you a few minutes ago that you can get some sickness benefits from YEL, pension insurance, if you are a member of that insurance, that you can get some money from them. Yeah, but if you're not a member there, then you may not get anything. Yeah, you may not get anything. Parent support money you get though, because it's using to kids. Okay, I don't understand that one. Also, foreigner get better benefits than us Finns as we retire. I'm not really sure whether foreigner get better benefits than Finns. I'm not really sure of that. I haven't came across any document which specifies that one. Yeah, but all I know is that the amount of benefits you get as an entrepreneur corresponds to how much you contribute as an entrepreneur, particularly when it comes to YEL, pension insurance. Yeah, if you contribute well, I mean, you indicate your income as high as possible and you contribute monthly, these monthly invoices to the insurance, then you should get more benefit. If it happens, you lose your business or you get sick or you become a parent, then you'll definitely get more with respect to how much you contribute. Yep. Okay. Yeah, so for me, that is all I had to discuss with you today. Thank you so much, everyone who have shown up. My plan is to discuss this document every Monday, so I will do this again next Monday, God willing, and if He will grant me the health in life and also the time to do so. Sometimes some other activities may be interfering. Yeah, so but if it happens, I have some time slot, then I will always come back and discuss this. So maybe I can show you what I'm gonna be covering in the next session on Monday, so that if you get this document, you can also try to go through this, so that when we meet here, we can discuss together. Okay, here they've discussed about taking a break. I don't know. I'm gonna read this and see if there's any important information. Sometimes there could be some important information relating to taking a break. Uh, Turning an enterprise idea into a business idea. This is what I'm gonna be covering next Monday. Turning an enterprise into a business idea. I will see what insights they have given, but also on the same session, I will also cover about the business plan. So if you have no idea about the business plan, let's go through this document together. Let's go through this document together. They've discussed about calculations. So you have no idea what calculations should you include in the business plan. Let us read this document together. So this is what I'm going to be reading this week, and I will discuss it on Monday next week. So we are starting from this turning a business, an enterprise idea into a business idea, covering the business plan and calculations. And calculations turn your ideas into numbers. So we're gonna see also the calculations, and we're gonna have to go through what calculations should you take into account when making your business plan. Yeah, I really want to know about this. Yeah, this is very good, and I think if you have been doing accounting, I think this is gonna be very nice to you. I don't know if you can see properly. Yes, but if you have not been doing any accounting, this is why I'm here. I have not done any accounting subjects. Yeah, but I've had so much interest. I've read some accounting books. Now I know how to translate some of the business statement, cash flow statement, income statement, the balance sheet. Yeah, so nowadays I can do that, and I should be able to read this document easily and translate them as easily as possible. Yeah, so that's what we're going to be covering in our session next Mondays. Thank you so much. And let me read if there are some questions. How long does it take before you get benefits from YEL? Well, according to what I've read here, is that as soon as you start to become a contributing member, if it happens, anything happens, maybe you lose your business, you no longer work, you should be able to get the benefit. So they have not put any time limit. You just have to be a member who is contributing to the pension insurance. That's it. Okay. Yes, Jay, you have answered correctly. You just need to pay them. So do this monthly contribution. That's how you qualify to get also the benefit if it happens. That's why it's called the pension insurance. This is an insurance. You know what happens to insurance? You pay them, they will pay you back if something goes wrong. Yeah. Yes, Jay, you're really explaining well. Yeah. Kela gives benefits. Yeah, that's correct. But also some people are paying to Kela, so it's almost the same thing. But the difference is with Kela, you don't have to pay to get as much as in YEL, you have to be paying for you to get the benefits. But with Kela, someone else pays, and some other people who are less fortunate, then they get to enjoy. Sorry, I joined late. Can I know an estimate for entrepreneurial licensing? It should be about 300 euros. I cannot be sure. I'm gonna have to cross check that. Yeah, but it should be about 300 euros to register your name to the Finnish patent. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm gonna cross check that, and I will give you feedback on the coming session on Monday. So please stay tuned on Monday morning between 10 and 12. I'm gonna be around again. Yeah, so thank you guys. I'm gonna have to go now. My time is up, and I have to do some other activities. We'll see again next week.